is Scurti here at St. Peters University with the Director of Campus Ministry, Father Rocco Danzi. Welcome, Rocco.
Thank you. Thank you.
This is nice for me to be back because Jersey City is my hometown, and I used to teach here at St. Peters as well, so this is before you came on the scene.
Well, welcome back.
Thank you.
And welcome home.
Grazie, thank you. Okay, I think because this is the Jesuit University of New Jersey, I'd like to start our interview with maybe your insight about Jesuit lifestyle, Jesuit ministry, charism, and all that good stuff. And of course, you have an in, because Francis is a Jesuit as well. So what could you tell us about being a Jesuit?
Sure. I think, as you mentioned, with Pope Francis, and now the world community is aware that one of those marks, or one of the great passions of the Society of Jesus, the Jesuits, is a real concern for the poor and a commitment to a faith that does justice. So if we say we believe, and as a Christian we say we believe in Christ, it is to kind of walk that talk, and it's to kind of be in service to others, especially those suffering, those marginalized, those that are in greatest need and most vulnerable.
When Ignatius founded the Jesuits, was poverty one of his main focuses?
Well, interestingly, Ignatius would have begun his own journey and conversion, first as a layman, wanting to make a pilgrimage to Jerusalem, to walk in those footsteps of Jesus, to feel that presence of Christ, but also really wanted to help anyone he met along the way that was suffering. This could have been a widow, it could have been an orphan, it could have been what we might call today a refugee, but someone that was really kind of lost or far from home. Sometimes people joke about Jesuits, our own institutions, and some of the things we have to do to raise money. Jesuits can be in very high-profile situations and settings, but really underneath it all, from the beginning of the society, and by Ignatius, first as a layman, and then as he formed this community, because these guys wanted to follow him, wanted to know what made him tick and what made him so passionate for others and for Christ. We became a religious order that does take a vow of poverty, much like Franciscans or Dominicans. So we wanted that to be really part of the community, part of our ethos, and getting that into our collective DNA. And then in whatever we do, our works, let's say like here at St. Peters, how do we bring that into our ministry and share that with others?
Yes. When I was teaching here, John, the director of the department, our department, talked about the cura personalis.
Yes.
Could you explain that philosophy?
Sure. Cura personalis, coming from Latin and coming from Ignatius. He had a real concern for the person, but he saw that person before, much like Christ, as an individual, and a person with a spiritual dimension, a physical dimension, an emotional dimension, the whole person. And how do we care for the whole person, body, mind, and spirit? And so Ignatius was very sensitive to that, and whatever we would do, from the missions to the high schools and later universities that would blossom and form, how do we, in our work, in our teaching, in our missionary work, really strive and seek to care for that whole person?
What are the years of Ignatius, his founding of the order, and why did he call it Society of Jesus?
Sure.
And if you don't have the numbers on you, don't worry about the numbers.
You know, it's interesting. I want to say it's around 1541.
Right.
He was born right at that kind of crossroads historical moment, 1491. So a whole new world is being discovered.
Yes.
He's born, and our order would be this kind of new world order, actually going into the new world to do a lot of missionary work. But Ignatius, there was a piece of that question.
Society of Jesus. Why Society of Jesus?
Okay, good, thanks. Why the Society of Jesus? First of all, he didn't want the order. There were a number of the early followers and members of the society. They wanted to name it like the Ignatians, or somehow, because Ignatius was so inspiring.
Right, like Franciscans and Dominicans.
Yeah.
Right.
So the order should somehow be named after him. He didn't want that. He said, no, from the time of the cannonball and my near-death experience, what I have come to realize is the love of Christ for me. Uh, I'm a love sinner, and Jesus has healed me, rescued me, and called me. So he wanted the order named somehow or branded by the name of Christ.
Jesus, right.
And so when we break down Jesuit, we see those letters of Jesus' name.
Right,
there.
right, right.
And he was very adamant on that. And I think one of the elements as I was coming to discern my vocation, that became very appealing. We're not even, as much as we love Mary and Ignatius loved Mary, we were not named as many Marian orders. Ignatius wanted to keep his eyes on that ultimate prize of Jesus
Absolutely.
Christ.
And I love in the great church of Jesuit in Rome, the center of the high the ceiling is beautiful.
Oh, yes.
Just the initials of Jesus, what looks like IHS.
Yes.
Just and the glorification of that. That's spiritually, artistically says it all. Our focus and the eyes are on Jesus through all things. That's great.
And I think even Ignatius's teaching through the spiritual exercise is his great gift to the church that we continue to draw from. And now we have lay colleagues and so many others that share those spiritual exercises, this retreat, and this spiritual approach with so many. But in that, even his tools around discernment, it is always inviting us to just, if we can connect with Christ, talk to Jesus, see him as friend, he never lets us down, and he's going to help us make all kinds of decisions and move forward with our life hopes.
And that's the essence of Christianity. Not only Jesuits is perfect as the charism of your order, but for all of us to focus on Christ and make him the center. You spoke about your discernment. Why? Why did you become a Jesuit? How did you become a Jesuit? I think the mystique of the Jesuits is always interesting to people, especially because of Francis now. And I know there was political stuff in the past, and they were expelled from one country or another. But you, how did you come to your discernment?
And it's so funny, Lou, you probably get that question. When did you first know, or when did you feel the call?
Right.
And it keeps kind of like evolving for me, but I can say as a boy, my father, who's now in a nursing home near here, Catholic nursing home, but my dad was such a hero to me, so involved in our parish. But I grew up very connected to our parish church in South Jersey. But the only priest I knew growing up were diocesan priests.
Sure.
They were great, they were committed. But I guess as a little boy, you would see them at Mass. I served as an altar boy. But I'm like, gee, I wonder what they do all day. Of course, now I realize we never have a peaceful moment. But it's like, I don't know, would I want that kind of life?
Right.
And then I went to St. Joe's University, a Jesuit university in Philadelphia.
Yes.
And what I discovered, Lou, that became very appealing for me was that I never realized that you could be a priest and. At St. Joe's, we had priests who were professors, teaching all sorts of things. We had Jesuits who were medical doctors, living at St. Joe's, working at Jefferson or Hoddeman. And I'm like, wow, you could be a priest and a doctor.
Nice.
We had Jesuits there working in Camden at a center. They were lawyers. So they're a priest and they're doing advocacy for prisoners and immigrants. I'm like, wow.
Wow, that's great. That's great.
It was so appealing. And as a first-generation kid of my family, going to college for the first time, trying to figure things out about the future, I thought to myself, wow, what a legacy piece, if I'm being called to priesthood, religious life, to be a Jesuit and serve as a priest, but also that I could bring something else to the conversation and to ministry that could make a difference.
That wholeness comes out, doesn't it? I mean, the whole service. It's funny that you're saying this, and you were so enamored by that caricature of priest, doctor, priest, lawyer. All my life, all my ministry, I've always had more than one job. And I usually joke about that to people. I was campus minister. I was an artist. I was teaching. I was marriage and family therapist. I'm not a Jesuit, but I've always had more than one job.
Yes.
Even I'm retired now. I have so many jobs now, you wouldn't believe it. But I like that, the fact that really attracted you.
Yes.
It's holistic. It's just a whole ministry to have interest in non-church specific areas besides our vocation as priests. Okay, we're going to come back to another aspect of our interview, and this has been wonderful. We're here in the office of the Catholic Campus. You don't call it Catholic Campus Ministry, do you?
Would you say campus ministry?
Campus Ministry here at St.Peters University in Jersey City with Father Rocco Danzi, who is the director of Campus Ministry. Thank you, Rocco. I appreciate it, and we'll be back.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Join us, and let me hear from you. Father Lou Scurti at hotmail.com. God bless you.